Hello, and welcome to an overview of one of the most common approaches to classroom instruction, labeled direct or explicit or teacher-led instruction. My name is Bill Hewitt, and I'm Professor Emeritus at Valdosta State University and Adjunct Professor at Capella University. The presentation is narrated by Jeff Hewitt, who's helping me produce these videos.
This approach has a long history, from the ancients to the development of universities, and then employed in elementary and secondary schools. It is supported by a wide range of learning theories, from behaviorism and operant conditioning to cognitive information processing and research on memory to social learning or observation of models. In the 1970s, Benjamin Bloom completed an analysis of traditional approaches to teaching and learning and determined that one of the major factors in learning was the factor or variable of time available for learning. He demonstrated that the limit of the number of hours in the school day was a major factor in influencing student academic achievement. Educators understood this limit and worked to be as efficient as possible in the use of that limited time. Teacher-led instruction was a natural consequence of that decision. Of course, an alternative would be to let time vary. That is, to provide more time for those learners who were not demonstrating mastery on the academic material. While that is an alternative which is provided by some schools who provide extra tutoring or Saturday or summer school, it is not the approach provided by most educators and schools. There are a number of basic principles that theory and research indicate are essential when engaging in teacher-led instruction. First is that it is important to set the stage for the lesson. This means to use some advanced organizers to prepare the learners for the new information and review prerequisite knowledge or skills that will be used in learning new material. Learners should also know the lesson objectives, including the criteria used to judge successful performance. Teachers should use the principles discussed in the presentation on cognitive information processing and memory, especially the need to gain attention and provide for some repetition of new materials so that it is accessible in short-term or working memory for elaboration. Teachers need to attend to and value learner diversity, especially in terms of background knowledge and experiences and expectations for success. While all students can learn, some may need more or different instructional activities than others. Finally, frequent and meaningful assessments with timely feedback contributes to successful learning. Not all assessments need to be graded, but enough should be so that learners can know how well they are meeting expectations. Theory, research, and professional practice have contributed to a variety of models on how to deliver high-quality teacher-led instruction with a specific description of specific events of instruction. One of the first widely used approaches was developed by Robert Gagne and his colleagues. His model included making sure the learners were paying attention and knew the objectives of the lesson, providing opportunities to connect new learning to prior learning, and giving clear presentation of content and learning guidance throughout the presentation. Finally, the teacher should provide time to practice the new learning and feedback both during instruction and after assessments. Gagne also recommended connecting the classroom learning to authentic activities outside of the classroom. Another well-known description of teacher-led instruction was provided by Joyce and Weil, and then Joyce, Weil, and Calhoun in their overview of models of instruction. The behavior modification models and the information processing models relied extensively on a teacher-led approach to instruction. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, Barak Rosenshine published 2 classic articles on teacher-led and explicit instruction. He describes 6 teaching functions in his model: review of prior knowledge and prerequisite skills necessary to learn the new material, a clear, organized presentation of new material, an opportunity for guided practice with the teacher present, and feedback during that process. Learners then need an opportunity to engage in independent practice when the teacher is not immediately present, accompanied by weekly and monthly reviews. Rosenshine's work was very influential in supporting definitions of high-quality instruction. I hope you are seeing a connection among these researchers as they define principles and models of teacher-led instruction. In general, there's always a statement about the need for presentations to have an overview of the lesson before the presentation of new content. This overview should provide a review of prior knowledge and prerequisite skills, a statement about what is to be learned, and why it is important. This is similar to writing an introduction to a paper that introduces the topic, why it is important, and how the paper will be organized before actually discussing the details of the topic. There should also be a clear, organized presentation of new material and a series of probes or questions that require a response from learners. There should also be time allotted for practice, both guided practice under the tutelage of the teacher and independent practice when the teacher is not providing immediate feedback. Weekly, monthly, or even semester periodic review should be provided. This keeps prior knowledge available so that it can be connected to new learning. Additionally, there should be time given to assessments and evaluation, both formative on a daily basis and summative for the purposes of demonstrating mastery. There is some controversy about the number of times a learner should be given to demonstrate mastery, but if learning to a preset standard is what is required to prepare for additional learning, then it does not make sense to send a learner forward without demonstrating that mastery. Finally, the event of monitoring and feedback should be an ongoing event throughout the lesson. which means during the presentation, during and after practice, and after formative and summative assessments. Learners should be constantly informed as to how well they are doing in meeting expectations. While empirical research results provide evidence that teacher-led instruction leads to student learning, it must be remembered that assessments of learning were related to situations in which there was a set of well-defined content and/or skills to be taught and learned. There was a broad array of knowledge and skills to be tested, some of which was not directly taught to learners. The teachers were working with large class sizes, which research has shown to be larger than 20. Teachers and learners were given limited time to teach and learn the material, and assessments, for the most part, were standardized multiple-choice tests. If the target outcomes were social, emotional, physical, or spiritual, or even critical or creative thinking, the research might not be so supportive.